Good morning, America. This morning, new questions over Attorney General Jeff Sessions and his contact with the Russian ambassador. What did they really talk about? Is his job now in jeopardy? As we learn more about the White House shakeup, the president's new White House communications director.
I love the president, and I'm very, very loyal to the president.
And Sean Spicer explaining why he stepped down. Plus, the brand new financial disclosures from Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump.
Forced out, the Minneapolis police chief losing her job after the fatal police shooting of a woman who called 911.
Listen, we do not want you as the mayor of Minneapolis.
Now the growing calls for more heads to roll.
Severe weather, flash flooding hitting the Midwest with up to 8 inches of rain and rivers rising, high winds ripping up roofs, hail turning lawns white. The threat for 50 million Americans this morning, with more to come.
And birthday boy Prince George turns 4, the new official portrait following a very photogenic royal family trip. The helicopter hijinks, how George and Charlotte stole the show.
Live from ABC News in New York, this is Good Morning America.
Good morning. Another day, another bombshell report on the Russia investigation. This one comes from the Washington Post, and it involves the embattled Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Now, the story says that U.S. spy agencies intercepted communications between the Russian ambassador to the U.S., Sergei Kislyak, and his superiors back in Moscow, in which Kislyak talked about conversations that he had during the presidential campaign with then-Senator Jeff Sessions, a major Trump supporter.
According to the Post, Kislyak told his bosses that he and Sessions discussed both campaign and policy issues. Now, this directly contradicts what Sessions told Congress during his confirmation hearings for the job of Attorney General back in January.
Now, it is important for us to point out here, we don't know whether Kislyak was exaggerating to simply impress his bosses or perhaps planting false information to confuse American intelligence agencies. This info is only coming from him.
Either way, it's a major new development, and it comes as we head into a week when people close to Trump, including his son, Don Jr., and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and former campaign manager Paul Manafort will be meeting behind closed doors with investigators on Capitol Hill. We begin our coverage this morning with ABC's David Wright, who's at the White House. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan and Paula. The president is already up this morning and tweeting his outrage at the Post story, blasting what he calls another case of intelligence leaks and adding these illegal leaks, like Comey's, must stop. Well, the story drops on a day that the president heads to Norfolk, Virginia to commission an aircraft carrier, hoping to change the subject. Trump's trip to the most advanced aircraft carrier ever built comes as the White House is eager to get back in fighting form. It's his second trip to the USS Gerald Ford. Back in March, he put on the presidential bomber jacket and ended up being bombarded himself.
When did you first learn that Sessions spoke to the Russian ambassador?
With questions about Attorney General Jeff Sessions' decision to recuse himself from investigations into Russia and the campaign. This week, Trump told the New York Times he would have picked somebody else had he known Sessions would recuse himself. Now, Sessions' own account of his contacts with the Russians is under fire. Despite his repeated denials,
I never had meetings with Russian operatives or Russian intermediaries about the Trump campaign.
The Washington Post reports that the Russian ambassador's own accounts of 2 meetings with Sessions contradict that. The phone calls, according to the Post, intercepted by U.S. intelligence agencies. One source tells ABC News the two did discuss foreign policy issues, but there was no discussion of Russian interference in the campaign. All of this on a day when the White House rolled out its new communications team. Businessman Anthony Scaramucci is in the top job. He wasn't always a fan of Trump's.
That's another hack politician.
You call Donald Trump a hack?
He's a hack politician.
Now singing a very different tune.
Mr. President, if you're listening, I personally apologize for the 50th time for saying that. I love the president.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the new White House press secretary. Outgoing press secretary Sean Spicer told Sean Hannity Trump didn't want him to quit.
He wanted to bring some new folks in to help rev up the communications operation. And after reflection, my decision was to recommend to the president that I give Anthony and Sarah a clean slate to start from.
Now, Spicer also told Hannity he tried to be good-humored about all those jokes at his own expense, but saying that Some of them went from funny to mean. Overnight, the president tweeted out, quote, "He's a wonderful person. He took a tremendous amount of abuse from the fake news media, but his future is bright." Dan and Paula?
David Wright, thank you very much. Reporting from the White House this morning. For more on all of this, let's bring in ABC News contributor and conservative commentator Tara Setmeyer, who's here with us in New York, and in Washington, ABC News political analyst Kristen Soltis Anderson. Kristen, let me start with you. Let's just go through the series of events of late and see what we all make of it. So just days ago, the president publicly attacks his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, in the New York Times for his decision to recuse himself from the Russia investigation. Afterwards, anonymous White House staffers tell reporters they were shocked Sessions didn't quit. Now comes this new and damaging information about Sessions and his conversation with the Russian ambassador, Mr. Kislyak. So here's the question. Is this potentially all leading up to a situation where Trump fires Sessions and replaces him with somebody who's not recused on Russia and who would then perhaps rein in or even fire Bob Mueller, the special prosecutor?
Well, remember, if the president fires the attorney general and tries to replace him, that's a position that gets confirmed by the U.S. Senate. So Donald Trump just can't pick anyone he wants to fill in that role. He would have to pick somebody that could make it through the Senate. So that is one consideration. He won't just be able to handpick whomever. But also, you know, with the latest story coming out, this is coming as a result of leaks from the intelligence community, and that is something that is known to really get President Trump very upset anytime there are leaks against his administration. So it's possible that by being sort of the victim of these leaks, that in some ways weirdly puts Jeff Sessions back in Trump's good graces.
Do you agree with that, Tara?
Not necessarily. I think that Donald Trump has demonstrated that he is not disciplined when it comes to messaging, and he's not afraid to throw loyalists under the bus. You know, Trump talks about loyalty, but he's loyal until he's not. Jeff Sessions was one of the earliest supporters of Donald Trump. This is a dream job for him. The fact that the president even brought this up, he brought this up on his own during a New York Times interview. He did not have to throw his attorney general under the bus, even if he was frustrated with him, because publicly, it just shows that if for someone that is innocent or there isn't anything going on, the president continuing to obsess over the Russia story, he gives legs to it, and throwing his attorney general under the bus that way and upbraiding him publicly does not lend as much confidence, I think, in people thinking that, well, this Russia story is overblown. The president continues to do that. And Kristen is right. I mean, you can't just replace the attorney general without going through Senate confirmation, which presents a whole nother complication for the president if he makes that move.
And Tara, I'll start with you on this one. The White House said this week, quote, Trump has no intention of firing Mueller. But as you mentioned in that New York Times interview, he wasn't so explicit. He kind of left the door open. But if he were to fire Mueller, which is in his legal authority to do, what do you think would happen next?
Well, first of all, I think we need to take what others say, other than the president, with a grain of salt. Obviously, President Trump is the final authority. Oftentimes, his communicators, they cross paths because he says one thing, they say something different. So his every indication during that New York Times interview, in his own words, was that he was very frustrated with Sessions, frustrated with Mueller, and you can see that they are his surrogates are laying the foundation to try to discredit Bob Mueller, who has an impeccable reputation, by the way, from everyone across 30-plus-year history. They're trying to discredit him and the investigators. If he were to fire Bob Mueller, I think it would be a political firestorm, and you will start to see the Nixonian comparisons to the Saturday Night Massacre during Watergate if he were to do that.
And Kristen, do you think a political firestorm is possibly on the horizon?
If he goes ahead and fires Bob Mueller, I think absolutely. You'd have a lot of outrage from Democrats, of course, but even many, many Republicans on Capitol Hill have been had this question put to them, where they've said, look, I believe we need to let the investigation take its course. If the president does fire Bob Mueller, it's going to put a lot of congressional Republicans in a very tough spot, where something that they have said that they absolutely don't want to see the president do, they'll have to figure out, do they defend the president or do they walk away from him?
Tara and Kristen, thank you much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great Saturday. We're going to move on now to the new fallout this morning after that fatal police shooting of a yoga and meditation instructor in Minneapolis.
The police chief resigned on Friday, but now frustrated demonstrators want the mayor to step down as well. And ABC's Ariel Reshef joins us with more. Good morning to you, Ariel.
Good morning, Paula and Dan. Minneapolis city leaders under fire this morning. Protesters storming a press conference outraged over police shootings that have plagued the Twin Cities.
Shut it down! This morning, the fallout from Justine Damon's shocking death, leading the Minneapolis police chief to resign. Chief Harteau is not in a position to lead us further.
Mayor Betsy Hodges herself becoming the target of boiling anger.
We don't want you as our mayor of Minneapolis anymore.
This press conference spinning out of control.
Your police department has terrorized us enough. We do not want you as the mayor of Minneapolis, and we're asking you to resign.
The police shooting of the 40-year-old Australian bride-to-be coming 1 year after Philando Castile was killed by police during a traffic stop outside St. Paul. At a march for Damon, Castile's mother Valerie seen offering comfort to Damon's fiancé. But so far, Mohammed Noor, the officer who opened fire on Damon, keeping quiet.
We cannot compel Officer Noor to make a statement. I wish we could.
Investigators working to piece together why Noor shot Damon after responding to her 911 call. In the transcript, she says, "I can hear someone out the back," telling dispatch she thought someone was being assaulted. Noor's partner Matthew Harity claiming the two were startled by a loud noise moments before Damon appeared next to their patrol car in a dark alley. Noor shooting Damon through the window. Neither of their body cameras turned on. The officers administering CPR, but it was too late.
And the assistant police chief will now take over the Minneapolis Police Department, the mayor insisting she will not resign. Police have talked to one person who stopped at the scene as officers were trying to revive Damon. They're asking for any other potential witnesses to now come forward.
A lot of anger in Minneapolis.
A lot.
Ariel, thanks.
Thanks, Ariel. And we want to move now to the disturbing moments caught on camera when a disabled man struggles to stay afloat in the water and teens nearby, they do nothing to help.
In fact, those teenagers filmed the entire episode, even mocking the man as he was drowning. ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Miami, Florida this morning with more on the growing anger over this story. Victor, good morning.
Dan and Paula, good morning to you. People in one Florida community still reeling over that shocking video that shows a man drowning. His family frustrated because the teens who recorded it are not being held accountable, but police are doing everything they can to change that. And we want to warn you, this video is tough to watch.
This morning, police say they're pursuing charges against the teenagers accused of recording that disturbing video of a man drowning.
This is the pond where it happened. Those 5 teens stood right here along the bank and recorded Jamel Dunn for 2 minutes.
Laughing at the 31-year-old as he died.
We just saw Birdie die. We couldn't help him. We didn't even try to help him.
On Thursday, authorities said the teenagers would not be facing criminal charges, that the teens were not obligated to render aid to Dunn.
Do you wish you could do more legally here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Shockingly, in Florida and many states, you don't legally have to try to help someone in distress.
A life could have been saved, a life could have been helped, you know, a family could have got closure, and people knowing what happened to them. It's just so disturbing.
But the teens also neglected to report the drowning to police. Now authorities hope an obscure statute will allow them to pursue misdemeanor charges for failing to report a death.
As far as we know, the statute has never been used in this way. I don't know as there's any just outcome to this.
The state attorney's office releasing the video as a key piece of evidence in the investigation and will decide whether to file charges, providing little comfort to Dunn's family.
They're laughing and joking in the background, saying, no, we're not going to help you. You should have never gotten in there. I mean, that was just horrible.
Police also have some new surveillance video, and the state attorney's office is taking a close look at that as they determine whether or not to move forward with any legal action. Dan, Paula?
Yeah, Victor, still so disturbing that those teens could be so callous as to watch a man drown. Thanks for your reporting this morning. And we want to turn things over to Ron Claiborne, the bespectacled, Dan's favorite look.
Yeah, I'm bespectacled. Good morning to you,
Good morning
Paula
to you.
and Dan. Adrian?
Good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
You know, I can't complain. I had a nice weekend.
You're taking time away from me here. Good morning, everyone. We're going to begin in Afghanistan, where the Pentagon confirming that a U.S. airstrike has mistakenly killed 12 Afghan national police officers. The airstrike was launched Friday against Taliban insurgents. It's believed by Afghan officials that the officers were not in uniform at the time of the occurrence, which could have led to them being mistakenly identified as Taliban fighters. Back in the U.S., a Florida judge has sentenced Dalia DiPolito, who was found guilty of trying to have her husband murdered, to 16 years in prison. DiPolito was caught on camera trying to hire an undercover detective to kill her husband, Michael. Back in 2009, prosecutors said she wanted to get the family home, and the couple's savings. DiPolito's attorneys say they will appeal her conviction. Here in New York City, 10 people had to be rescued from a seaplane that landed in the East River. The Cessna Caravan You see it there in the river. One of its pontoons broken after it failed on its third attempt to take off Friday afternoon. The fire department helping the 9 passengers and the pilot get off that plane and onto one of the pontoons so they could be taken away. No one, fortunately, was injured. And an initial investigation into what caused the Navy ship, the USS Fitzgerald, to collide with a Philippine cargo ship off the coast of Japan last month suggests that the Fitzgerald may have been at fault. 7 U.S. Sailors were killed, and the Navy destroyer was seriously damaged in that incident. One U.S. official tells ABC News that collision alarms did not sound on the bridge of the destroyer, and the crew failed to yield to the ship on its right, as was required. In Fresno, California, security cameras catch a thief, or capture the thief on video as he tries to rob a Starbucks, allegedly. You see him allegedly going toward the counter there wearing a Transformers mask and taking out, well, I'm just kidding, what turned out to be a fake gun and a knife. Moments later, a customer, look at that, huh? Takes action, slamming the robber to the ground.
He didn't want it to get in the way of his morning coffee.
And continuing the fight on the ground, you see there, the suspect did get away, but was later arrested.
After all that?
Yeah, should have taken off that mask, huh?
But that customer was getting him.
Yeah.
Did he get his coffee?
I don't know. We will look into that. But that's it. I got more.
Oh, more?
Finally, yeah, the Louisville, Kentucky Courier-Journal, the newspaper, published a frank correction this week for mislabeling hot dogs as a sandwich.
Well,
the correction stated that errors made between 1887 all the way to 1966 referred to hot dogs as, quote, a Frankfurter sandwich, a Coney Island sandwich, and the most egregious, a Frankfurter sandwich with ketchup. The paper says, quote, we deeply regret the errors, especially the last one.
And I love how they spell ketchup, C-A-T-C-H-U-P. But why isn't a hot dog a sandwich?
I think it is.
2 pieces of bread.
Don't start it
with
up
meat
again,
in the
okay?
middle.
I think it is a sandwich. I think the Earl of Sandwich
yes.
is a historical figure, and I believe he would say that a Frankfurter sandwich and a hot dog.
Stay tuned for the special 2-hour edition of GMA this morning.
Let's ask
Adrian
Kate Parker.
I will ask Mr.
Paula
Google.
will keep talking.
Kate Parker, who's in for Rob Marciano. What say you?
There were rails. We've gone off those rails. And so we're going to talk weather now.
I'm going to say sandwich. Okay, but here's the thing about the weather. We had 150 reports of severe weather yesterday. And here's the deal. It doesn't take something like a tornado to create damage like this. This is a microburst. You can see the hail coming down. The winds are intense. Terrifying moments for a lot of folks. And those terrifying moments, they continued overnight and on into this morning, especially in Iowa, where we've seen some flooding. Now, that was in Illinois, where we did have a lot of those reports yesterday. Now, Iowa, that's where the flash flooding is going on. We've seen Turkey River rise 16 feet in the last few hours. Severe weather today going to be across the Ohio Valley on into the mid-Atlantic. Look for large hail, damaging winds, flash flooding again, because we're kind of riding along this system west to east, keeping those showers in the same areas. That goes right on into Sunday. You'll notice a very similar area, but a very much more widespread across the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic and parts of the Appalachia. Let's take a look at what's going on a little closer to home.
Slight risk for severe storms today in the D.C. area. That does include all of the yellow shaded counties. And in addition to today, we also have some active weather for the later half of the weekend. Main impacts being heavy rain, gusty winds, and also smaller sized hail, down branches, and also a few power outages not out of the question. This is a round of some showers well off to our west that we're going to be watching. Be paying attention 2 to 5 and also 7 to 9 for some heavier rainfall in D.C.
We're taking a poll right now. Who thinks a hot dog is a sandwich?
It's not a sandwich. It's obviously not a sandwich.
I mean, I'm saying sandwich.
Yes.
I don't.
The ladies.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be like on the wrong side of history here, but
it's
definitely
not
a sandwich.
That's the end of that.
Kate, welcome,
wrong.
by the way. Thank you. Rob is on vacation this week. Very happy to have you, and sorry that you're getting involved.
I love being involved in the middle. And you're going to be here all day and tomorrow as well. Yes. Let's move along, everybody. It's royal celebration as Prince William and Princess Kate return from the family's 5-day tour of Germany and Poland, just in the nick of time for Prince George's 4th birthday. That was great. That was really bad.
I actually prefer you to start talking about sandwiches again. Adrian is covering the festivities and the newly released portrait of George that is breaking the internet. Adrian, good morning.
I think we're going to break the internet this morning. Yes, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, William and Kate, bringing along their 2 adorable children in what many called a charm offensive throughout Europe, making pretzels, visiting the symphony, and preparing to have a birthday party.